then on my left side there is Fuad Gritli. Don't want to say it in English. Gritli, Fuad Gritli. I don't know from which city you are.
Tripoli.
Also, okay. Yeah. So, because we have also some other guests from Benghazi. I would like to start with TEWA and Ahmad, who currently are the curators, you especially, of the TEWA exhibition we have here in Heidelberg, and we are very proud about that in the Galerie Arabesque. This is our cultural location here in Heidelberg of the Friends of Arabic Art and Culture. And it's not only the first time in Germany, we can proudly say the first time in Europe, that this important exhibition just took place the fourth time now in Tripolis, came over to Europe, to Heidelberg. And Ahmed, since you are the co-founder of this initiative, I would like to ask you first, maybe to give us an idea about this project, about maybe also some challenges you are facing, and your vision for the future. Thank you.
Good evening. The story of TEWA. Going back to 2014, we were like a group of 5 people who are interested in photography and art. Before the Tripoli war in 2014, we used to travel all around Libya to document the landmarks, portraits, and the environment. And because of the state of the situation of war in that time, unfortunately we couldn't keep going on that activities. So we stuck at our home, and we couldn't do any kind of activities. I decided to start doing something indoor. So we gathered as the same group, and we called our friend, who's a professional in Hurufiyat, which is TEWA about that kind of art. Hurufiyat, yeah.
Just give us a brief idea what it is.
Yeah, Hurufiyat is a contemporary art. Started like in the early 60s in the Middle East, Iraqi especially, and we are using letters, whatever letters like Latin or Arabic. In our artwork, we are quite away from calligraphy. I don't prefer Hurufiyat as calligraphy. Let's back to the story. In 2014, I said we gathered as a group of artists, and we started that workshop, and we started playing with color. I had a small room, and we done that for 1 week. And the result of the works we've done bring that idea of getting an exhibition, an art exhibition. Actually, I'm doing marketing, telecommunication in mobile company, and because I didn't want to get polluted because of the environment around me. So that's why I'm trying to engage myself in this kind of events. I think we start playing for the exhibition, and in 2016 the first TEWA come up to life, and we exhibited in Tripoli. We were 5 artists. Then we had that idea that we go somewhere abroad, and we did it in Tunisia. So this year is the 4th year of TEWA, and the first exhibition in Libya, who could keep going for the fourth version. The last exhibition in Tripoli was very difficult because of the situation of war and the shortage of everything, actually, even paint and canvas. But as I said last night, I'm doing what I'm doing, which is painting for myself, to get that pleasure and to get that joy. But as long as the artwork finish and deliver to people and people communicate with that artwork, I start feeling responsibility. And what audience said and what I saw from their opinion and their questions during the exhibition days, actually that's what moves me and makes me keep going, because I think they saw some spark of light or some hope. And even when I read the comments on our page, they say the only beautiful thing in this year, and they say the colorful spot in this environment, and these kind of words that makes me keep moving and keep doing it. Why? Actually, we have another message to the Libyan doing this, because if you have the willing and you keep yourself away from that environment of war, and you have someone can do art, do something civilian, so everyone can do. And we would like always to go and show this kind of activity in the world, on all the world, to say that as a Libyan we can deliver some beauty and we can do better than what you have seen in media.
I think this is a very strong and very important story you have to tell, and I would say, I can say this on behalf of our guests here, that we are with you, and we also want that you as Libyans doing art, whether you are doing this in your initiative TEWA, or we will hear a little bit more what TEWA is doing, or our musician and entertainer, and I mean, there are so many ways in doing art, and so I'm wishing you all the best. And this is now the beginning, that you have this exhibition here in Germany, and I hope there will be many more exhibitions. I mean, Germany might not be the country for where you find a lot of Libyans. I'm aware that in the UK, in Ireland, there's a very large Libyan community. Yeah. So thank you, first of all, to give us an idea, Ahmed, on this very important project, where TEWA is also a member from the beginning, but you have so many other things you are doing. Let me mention this very important foundation, Warak Foundation for Art and Culture. You initiated a few years ago already, we can say. Now you are having a scholarship or a fellowship, you call it, in Berlin. You came 10 months ago to Berlin. You are doing a lot of research with the initiative Co-Culture in Berlin. I think this is a very important initiative, and of course I would also like to hear a little bit more. We all want to learn more about your project and also how it is connected to TEWA. I think there are so many questions I would like to ask you. Let's give us first an idea about your work and your research.
Thank you, Nadia, and thank you for hosting us here tonight. Well, yeah, I wear many hats sometimes, but as for my art practices, it's been a few years now. I started with hurufiyat, but mostly now trying to go into a more conceptual approach where I really wanna, or I feel the urge to highlight what's happening in Libya and the region in general. And this work comes the idea of using different mediums to serve whatever concept that I'm working on. Maybe we can just show briefly that these are Ahmed's artwork that he was talking about from the TEWA exhibition,
And which you will
and
see
this
also.
was the exhibition in Tripoli. Just to explain to you about the images. These were one of the works recently about the communities of Tripoli and languages, diversity, and the racism that is happening now. And this was, for example, one of the recent works as well. It's an audiovisual installation. So it's with a headphone, with a headset that has a sound experience. So the visitor of the exhibition can really go through what passengers experience at Tripoli's airport, Maidiga's airport. And just to briefly mention the story of this airport, the main airport of Tripoli was bombed in 2014 during the civil war, and now we don't have an airport still because they moved all the flights to Maidiga airport since 2014, but it was bombed and attacked as well, and this was happening since then until today on a regular basis. And I wanted to highlight about this work because it's very important to understand even how society functions, that this airport was being bombed sometimes or attacked, and they stopped for a few weeks, and then sometimes for a few days, sometimes for a few hours, and then it starts operating again. And it really shows a lot about how Libyans have a lot of resilience, also I would say a lot of denial. And this is how basically I want to base my work. Ahmed was talking about showing beauty, and I'm totally the opposite. I really want to show what is happening, like the struggle we go through. And I'm done, I feel that I'm done with showing beauty that I do not enjoy, for example. Maybe because I left Libya 10 months ago and I'm not there anymore, so I feel this responsibility to shed the light on, okay, this is what we go through. Because also coming to Berlin, coming to Germany, I find out that people don't know anything, only about migration and smuggling. And as a Libyan, we go through worse sometimes than other migrants go through, but it's barely there, and we're always looked at as criminals, as the bad people who come from the bad country that is killing migrants. And it's important to base works based on realities and documentation of this era and what is happening to us as Libyans, and have our own voice to speak. This leads to Waraq Foundation, for example, and it's an organization I established 2015, and it was directly oriented to young artists, emerging artists who were exhibiting for the first time, and we wanted to open this platform, this space where people can come on a daily basis and have freedom to practice art, but also engage in a more socio-political level through their works, and raise awareness about what is happening to them. And we organized some exhibitions about the violation of human rights, about the life we were having back then and everything. Our activities at the space stopped in 2017, so 2 years after establishing the organization, because we had an attack and we were threatened, so we had to close down the space. After that, we had to find alternatives and go into public spaces where we use public spaces and try to occupy them as a tool for exchange and dialogue with the local audience, because also when you look at the cultural priorities of Libya, we need to focus on supporting the artists, of course, but of course we need to educate the audience as well. And more than that, we need to find tools and ways to bridge the gap between these artists and the audiences. And by bridging the gap, we mean creating more platforms, more open spaces, either in public spaces or permanent spaces. And we've seen how there was now a lot of co-working spaces being opened, like a lot, really, like, and it's amazing. Like there's more than, I don't know, 10 now in Tripoli, like 10 co-working spaces where young people can go, work together, like talk, discuss, work on projects, all of that. I think this is mostly about Waraq. Before, like, I moved to Berlin, but now, of course, it's hard to work from the ground, not being in Tripoli, and all of this all of these wars that are going on. And while you really want to go political or like purely social, there's always this threat or this also self-censorship that we are not 100% sure if we can do an exhibition about migration inside of Tripoli, for example. So these are a lot of narratives that needs to be discussed and talked about, and there's barely anything about it, of course, unfortunately. Now, the recent research project you've mentioned is the Green Book exhibition.
I wanted to ask you about this.
And
By the way, before the so-called revolution, I mean, we all learned or heard about Gaddafi and the Green Book, right? And when we met in summer the first time, TEWA, you were telling me that you did a lot of research on this topic, and I was astonished how deep you are going, and it's kind of history, yeah? And I know how important history is, but I look at you as a young woman and I compare it a little bit with Lebanon, especially after the war. When you talk to the young generation, they didn't want to hear or to do any research about dans le temps, yeah? What has been happening before. But this might also be your personality. Maybe you can give us also an idea about this project.